All right, so for this game, we essentially largely just have a straight sequencing game, so we'll set it up accordingly. We have 7 positions to work with, and we have 7 elements, H, J, K, L, and then M, O, P. So nothing out of the ordinary, everybody just goes once. This is kind of pretty much a textbook sequencing game. Let's see what we can do with the rule. So the first rule tells us that J has to go before H, so the J has to go before the H. Next, P has to go after both O and H, but before L. So hang on, P has to go, we have an H on the board already, so this is nice, we can connect these in. So P has to go after H, and P has to go after O as well, and P is before L. So that's pretty nice. Next, K has to go third if J is first, so we can say if we have J in the first position, then we'll have to have K in 3. So contraposed, if we don't have K third, then we certainly cannot have J first. And lastly, if M is before P, then, there's quite a bit going on. So hang on. So if we have M before P, then what has to happen? We have to have J before K. So we'll have to have J before K and after M. So the J would have to go after M. So we kind of get this M, J, K setup. And I suppose this kind of ties into this, right? Because basically if we have the M before the P, then it would actually go all the way back here. It would go before the J. So it would go M, J, and then K would kind of splinter off. But then again, if we don't have M before P, then P over here is just going to go before M. So you know what? This actually might be worth exhausting in terms of the elastic band. We can kind of play out the 2 major possibilities for what could happen with this. Either M is before P, in which case we have consequences, or it's not, but then we still know that P is before M, which is nice. So let's play the first possibility. If M is before P, then we'll have to have the M before the J. So we'll basically have to have M before J before H before P before L. And we know that for the record, P would go after O, and we know that according to this, J would also go before the K. So we get a very nicely fleshed out kind of setup here. Now, it's worth noting that the K could still shuffle all the way down here to the end, and similarly, O can shuffle all the way back here to the front. So we don't exactly know the first or the last positions here, but still, this is something. Now, the alternative is that we would basically have the same thing that we have here. So we'll lay that out. So we would have J, H, P, L with O before P, but we also know that if M is not before P, then obviously then P would go before M, and then K is still kind of flexible. So this is pretty good, which means we've essentially combined everything in this game except for this rule over here. This is the only extra rule that's in play here. So if we had J1, which would only be possible in this scenario where a J could go first, then we would have to lock the K into 3. All right, cool. So this is pretty good. Let's see what we can do. The questions themselves. Number 18. What could be the complete setup? So as usual, we go by the original set of rules. First rule was that J goes before H. So A looks okay. B we can disqualify because J is after H. C has J before H. D has him before. E has him before. Next. Second rule, P goes after both O and H and before L. So basically we have to have kind of this rough sequence. H and O before the P and then L. So answer choice A has H and O before P before L, we're good. B has O and H, that's fine, before P before L, that's fine. Actually, that didn't matter, B is already out. C, we have O and H before P before L, that's fine. D has O and H before P before L, that's fine. E has O and H, ooh, there we go. We have P after L, which is not cool, so we can get rid of answer choice E. Next, third rule was that if we have J1, so if we trigger J1, then we'll have to have K3. So answer choice A has J1, but it does not have K3, so we can get rid of that. And then between C and D, they don't have J1, so that doesn't apply. Lastly, if we have M before P, so we only have answer choices C and D left. So between C and D, that looks like that's happening in answer choice C, where we have M before P, and we're supposed to have this MJK set up, and we don't because K is before M. So we can get rid of answer choice C, and that just leaves us with answer choice D as the correct one for question number 18. As usual, let's plug that into the board. So answer choice D says we have KJO, and then we've got HPML. All right, so let's take a look. Let's find the local questions. Number 19, if O is fifth, which of the following? Well, let's figure that out first. If O is fifth, what does that tell us? Well, looking at our two kind of exhaustive elastic bands, it's worth noting that the second possibility isn't really a possibility. If O is fifth over here, it would have to have 3 people after him, and we don't have the room. So if O is in 5, we're working with this scenario, and that would mean that, first of all, P and L are going to have to follow O in that sequence. Oh, and wait a minute. As far as everybody else is concerned, M and J are going to take up the first 2 spots because they're before the other ones, right? So we're going to have M and J in 1 and 2, and then H and K are just going to flip between 3 and 4. Nice. So the question itself now asks, what could be true? Answer choice A, H goes before K, and yeah, that could be true, right? H and K can flip right now, so yeah, why couldn't that be true? Just in case, let's take a quick look at the other ones. B, L is before K, and no, L is last at the moment. C, O is before M, and no, M is first, so that's not going to work. Next, K is before J, and no, H and K are both after J, so that wouldn't work. Answer choice E, P is before M, and no, P is way later, and it's definitely after M. So the best answer to question number 19 is A. Next, so number 20 is global. We'll come back to this one in just a moment. Let's take a look at the next local question, number 21. If M is second, well, I guess as usual, let's play it out. If we have M in the second position, what does that tell us? Well, first of all, this scenario is definitely impossible, right? Because M has to go after a whole bunch of people here. So that locks us into the top template. And in the top template, if M goes second, so it's worth noting all of these people have to go after. Really, O is the only person that could go before M, so O will have to go before M. And then immediately after M, we're going to have a J, because J is still before everybody else. And then further down, it looks like there's flexibility. So the K can kind of shuffle between all of these people. So let's take a look. The question asks, which of the following must be true? Let's take a look. H5, we don't necessarily know that. K4, we don't know. L7, we don't know. O first, there it is. O definitely has to go first. Best answer to question number 21 is D. Next, question number 22. If P goes sixth, well, let's play it out. If P goes into the sixth position, what does that tell us? Well, again, bottom scenario is impossible because we can't have P before L and M. So we're in the top scenario for sure. And we're going to have L go in 7th right after P. Now, prior, we have a lot more flexibility. So the O, for example, is completely flexible. It can pretty much go around everybody, really. So there's not much we can do right now. You know what? Let's see. Maybe we have enough information. The question asks, what now must be true? And it's worth noting, again, we are in this top template. Answer choice A. J is before O. Now, does that have to be true? Well, no, because O is flexible. O can move around, so that doesn't have to be true. Next, K is before H. And K and H are also relative to each other. They are flexible as well. They can go either way, so that doesn't have to be. M is before H. Does that have? Oh, actually, yes, it does. M is definitely before H. That takes care of it. The best answer choice to number 22 is C. Just in case, though, let's take a look at the others. D, M is before O, and no, O can shuffle. It can move all the way back here before M. And E, O is before H, and again, no, O can shuffle against H. In fact, O can pretty much go virtually anywhere right now, so that doesn't have to be true. So once again, best answer here is C. Next, back to the global questions. Question number 20. Which of the following must be true? Let's take a look. Answer choice A. H is one of the first 4 movies. Now, so far, that kind of looks like it's been true, but does H have to go among the first 4? And I mean, it's worth noting in this template, H only has to go before P and L, so couldn't H go as late as potentially the 5th position and P and L can go in 6 and 7? Like in this last scenario, we could have had an H over here potentially. So that doesn't seem like it has to be true that H is among the first 4. It could go 5. Answer choice B. L is among the last 3. Does L have to go among the last 3? Well, in the top scenario, easily, because L is after all of those people. The only person who can go after L is just K. But in the bottom scenario, actually still, because L has to go after P, J, H, and O. So all 4 of these guys have to go before L, which means that the earliest that L can go would be the 5th position in order to accommodate the 4 before him. So yeah, L has to go among the last 3, 5, 6, or 7. Answer choice B is arguably viable. Just in case, let's take a look at the other ones. M is before J. Does that have to be true? And no, because we've had a scenario, well, not a scenario, this template where M could have gone after J. Answer choice D, does M have to go before L? And no, in this template, M and L, they can shuffle back and forth, so that doesn't have to be true. Answer choice E, K is before J. Does that have to be true? And no, in fact, here K is after J. And even in this template, I mean, K is flexible. K can move around quite a bit, so that doesn't have to be. The only one that had to be true is answer choice B for question number 20. Lastly, question number 23. What cannot be true? All right, let's go. Answer choice A. K is later than M and before J. So hang on, let's quickly write that down. So K is after M and before J. So could we have, wait, no, that's not what that says. K is after M and before J. There we go. Could we have an MKJ kind of setup? Well, in terms of, no, I suppose in this template, this wouldn't work because we have to have MJK, so MKJ would not work. But down here, actually still no, because J has to go before M, so there's no way to have MKJ. In which case, that cannot be true. Answer choice A is arguably a viable answer choice here. We can hold on to this. Let's just take a quick look at the other ones. Answer choice B. M is after J, but before K. So M is after J, but before K. So can we have a JMK? And maybe, because in this template over here, we could have had J before M, and then K could have gone later. K could have gone last, perhaps, as long as J is not first. So if O goes into the first position, so J is not first, then yeah, we could have had J, and then we could have had M later, and then K could go after. So that could have been true. Answer choice C, could we have M before O, but M after O, but before J? M after O, but before J. So could we have OMJ? And yeah, in this scenario, we could have had O go all the way early, right? So OMJ potentially would have worked. Answer choice D, could we have had M after H, but before L? So M after H, but before L. So could we have had HML? So top template, no, because it has to be MHL. So that would, but bottom template, H could have gone before M, and L could have gone after the M as well, right? Because these guys are flexible. So yeah, we could have had HML. Answer choice E, O is after M but before H. So O is after M but before H. Can we have MOH? So bottom template, no, because O is before M. But top template, O is flexible, right? So we could have easily had M and then O somewhere here and then H to follow. So we could have had MOH. So the best answer here is answer choice A.